What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here to talk a little baseball. That's right. I need a little palate cleanse. I just got done watching the Browns game. Ugh. Frustrating. Anyway, gonna dig into some baseball offseason stuff. I've been wanting to do this video for about a week or so now. I wanted to wait to get a little bit deeper in. So what we're going to do is look at the last 60 days of baseball data. See what's going on. Is anything starting to go up yet? Has it remained flat? Has anything tanked? Because we're getting to that time of year where in the past, the baseball market would start to show signs of life right after Christmas. I mentioned this before on videos. Last year, it was the week of Christmas to New Year's. A couple things started taking off, and then things kind of started snowballing from there. Now, things are a little different this year. One, we have a lockout. How will that impact things? No idea. Two, this January and February and in December is not the same card market we were in 1 year ago. 1 year ago, things were still in the I'm a little bit nutty phase. And would only get nuttier actually as January and February wore on. So was the massive rise that a lot of baseball stuff got because it was the run up to baseball, or because the market went nutty and they just happened to be in the normal time when baseball runs up. Most of the baseball market peaked in late February to mid-March. At mid-March, things started pulling back. Then the season started, and then, the season took over. Guys were going down. Then, like Acuna got super hot. Tatis was up and down because of the injuries and he would be hot. Whole bunch of shenanigans going on. But for the most part, only a couple players really went way up during the actual season and throughout by the time you got to the end of the season. Vlad was one of them. Ohtani was the biggest one by far. A lot of other guys were cheaper at the end of the season than when the season actually started, and their peak values for the year were all the way back in February and March. Tatis's peak value was in February and March when he signed his contract extension. When that news came out, his prices peaked. Acuna's was around then, but then he also got hot in season, which then spiked it back up again. So that's a little background on what we're looking at today. I pulled a bunch of different players, a lot of their Topps Chrome Refractors, looked at some first Bowman autos, and we're going back 60 days. 60 days puts us back into the middle of the World Series. But in all honesty, I don't think any of these players' prices were affected by the World Series. You could say Acuna, but he wasn't playing. Someone in my video the other day pointed out that, hey, Acuna has a ring now. Yes, on paper, Acuna has a ring. I'll be curious to see how much hobby credit he gets for that ring. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but I could see people presenting the argument. He did not play in the World Series. He did not play in the playoffs. He played only half the season. That World Series ring doesn't air quote count. If they were Trout fans, they would probably 100% say, oh, no, it counts. But, that's neither here nor there, regardless. So let's go ahead and dive in. I got a set of players to look at, a bunch of different cards to look at. Market movers today, link in the description down below if you want to check it out. If you want your own fancy charts and graphs, discount code down there, 20% off for your first month. If you pay for a year, you get 20% off the yearly payment instead of just the monthly payment. All that jazz is down there. Go check it out. Let's go ahead and dive into some baseball. First up, I just went with the big boys right out of the gate. Just right out of the gate, we're just heavy hitting here. First Bowman autos. I looked at Vlad, Tatis, Soto, and Acuna. I did not pull Ohtani because Ohtani does have a Bowman auto. It does sell for a lot. It's not really a first Bowman. It gets weird with Ohtani. So I did not pull any Ohtani autos, but I kind of pulled the main guys here. Vlad, Tatis, Soto, and Acuna. First Bowman autos. I looked at BGS 9.5 and PSA 10. When you're looking at first Bowman autos, it's very important to look at BGS 9.5 as well, because a lot of these are in BGS slabs. It's a baseball thing, tradition that, first Bowman autos always back in the day went to BGS. So at the time these were graded, BGS was still the go-to for these types of cards. I'd be curious to see, I would assume out of current product like Luis Robert and stuff like that, I would bet more of that stuff probably went to PSA as you went later in life. But back in 16, 17, and 18, that was not the case. A lot of this stuff went to BGS, so we have BGS comps pulled as well. Once again, we are going back 60 days, which takes us back right before Halloween. So, running through the list here, Vlad had no PSA 10 sell, but 14 BGS 9.5s, and he is slightly up 10%. Tatis, PSA 10 and BGS 9.5. PSA 10's up 8%. The BGS 9.5 is down 20%. This is the thing I hate about BGS comps is unless you really dig in, you don't know if this was a min gem, a true gem, or a true gem plus. My guess is it's a min gem. Regardless, that's a pretty big swing both directions. You're talking 8% up on a PSA 10, 20% down on a BGS 9.5. If it was a true gem, would it have been 10% more? Who knows? This is why BGS comps are wonky all the time. But in general, moving through here, Juan Soto, PSA 10 up 23%. BGS 9.5 up 50%. Soto, man, I was ready to throw so much money at a Soto dip, and then he had to go get freaking hot the last month of the season. We've talked about it a ton. His prices went insane to end the season and have just kept climbing in a lot of cases, especially his more rare stuff like his autos. His first Bowman autos have just kept going up and up and up, and I feel like I've already missed my window in one. This is one of the cards I would really like to have, probably in a PSA 9, given the price point. And you can't even find one remotely reasonably priced. And two, they just don't come up very often. And I just, I feel like I missed the window already until the season starts. I'm going to have to wait for the season to start and see if the price has dipped, to be quite honest, because I don't see them coming down between now and the start of the season, in all honesty, unless crazy things happen with the lockout. And then the last guy on the list, Acuna, first Bowman, PSA 10, down 30%. First BGS 9.5 up 24%. So, interesting. These two sold very close to each other. So about $1,000, $1,100 gap there between the BGS 9.5 and the PSA 10. The interesting thing is, so like if you look at Tatis's BGS 9.5 sold for $3K. The PSA 10 did 5.5. Acuna's is much closer together. That tells me that maybe that Acuna number, one of these two might be off one way or the other. Who knows? That just seems a little suspect that these two are this close together when that does not represent itself that way when you look at the other ones. Massive gap in the BGS 9.5 and PSA 10 of Soto. Massive gap on the Tatis, but the Acuna is very close together. So that leads me to believe that one of these is overinflated and one of these is underinflated, or vice versa. Which one, you have to dig in and do a next level of research. We're just trying to get a general feel for how things are going. So relatively speaking, first Bowmans in general have held extremely well throughout the offseason. This is the least shocking thing ever. They're the most desirable baseball card out there. And they're pretty low population, and especially in these players, pretty pricey. And two, they just don't come up that often. Like I said, you can see not that many of these have sold. Tatis has actually sold the most out of anybody. And in the PSA 10, the pop counts are pretty low. Tatis is 185. Soto's is actually the highest at 221, and Acuna's is only 105. But that's also skewed a little bit because of the BGS 9.5 pop counts. Those don't populate on here. Has to do with the way that BGS does their population reports. So first Bowman continue to hold very strong. Like I said, not very shocking. Let's get into some individual players and cards. Continuing down the Soto path, I pulled his two primary Topps cards. Remember, Soto's a weird one. He did not have a card in flagship other than a super short print, I believe. His two main refractor style cards, and that's mostly what I'm looking at, not base, are the pink, which we've talked about a ton, and also the rainbow foil, which is out of regular Topps update. The pink is out of Topps Chrome update. PSA 10 population on the pink is 658. On the rainbow is 354. These basically sell for around the same amount. You can see the two lines intersect each other and basically stay relatively close to each other. Looking down here at the actual numbers, the rainbow foil is down 1%, so it's essentially stayed flat the entire offseason. 7 of them have sold. The pink is up slightly, up 7%. 6 of those have sold in the last 60 days. Once again, I'm a big fan of both these cards. I do not own a rainbow foil. That wouldn't be a bad one to put on the list. I own 2 pinks. I think these cards are extremely undervalued in regards to Soto, just because he just doesn't have a lot available for a true rookie card. There's some Bowman's Best stuff out there. I do think, having dug into pricing and stuff on it, the Bowman's Best auto that I have, I do feel is a pretty good get. Given the price point for it, it's an on-card auto with a rookie shield on it. Not a bad buy for discount shopping. I'm kind of glad I snagged mine. Those don't sell very often either. But Soto prices have remained dead on. It's interesting that these 2 cards have stayed flat, and meanwhile his first Bowmans have continued to climb and climb and climb. If that's setting the market rate for Soto, then these feel like they should be having a jump involved in them, if that makes sense. Or it could be, so much love is thrown at the first Bowman, it's detached from the regular card market. Who knows? Maybe it's its own, needs to be treated as its own complete ecosystem, and whatever happens over on the first Bowman side of things has little to no impact on the main inline rookies, if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens, but just given what his first Bowman stuff has done, it makes his other stuff feel like it should be climbing as well. You could almost say the fact that his cards have stayed flat in the current sports card market, where everything seems like it's going down, the fact that his stuff is maintained could be seen as a major victory. So there's also that angle to take on it as well. Next up, Vlad. Mad Vlad. Vlad Guerrero Jr. had one hell of a season. He just smashed the hell out of the ball this year. Was in the running for Triple Crown. I can't wait to see him play again this year. Blue Jays look like they're going to have a really good season. His stuff has also pretty much maintained value throughout the offseason. Topps Chrome Refractor, PSA 10 up slightly, 12%, just went over $400. These were selling for $350 early in the offseason, all day, every day. They have crept up. X-Fractor down slightly. Pink up slightly, not surprising. Usually goes hand in hand with the regular refractor, so a little bit of a lag there, actually. And the Prism Refractor down slightly at 410. This, in my opinion, something seems slightly off here in regards to pricing. Typically, the Prism Refractors do outsell the regular refractors. So one of these 2 things is off, if that makes sense. Either the Prism Refractor is too low or the base refractor is too high. But Prism Refractors almost always outsell the regular refractors. They're about half the pop count. His regular refractor pop count is 960. The Prism Refractor pop count is 283. And the Prisms, I have a couple of these, are absolutely gorgeous looking cards. And then usually the pink lags behind the regular refractor, and usually the X-Fractor kind of leads the charge in regards to pricing, not including Sapphire and all the other random stuff like that. But in general, roughly speaking, Vlad's market has stayed perfectly flat throughout the offseason. To slightly up, depending on how you view that base refractor pricing. So potential buying opportunity on the regular refractor at 400 if you could find one. Acuna, the man of the torn ACL and missed the World Series. He's a weird one on how to value. I have not seen any updates in regards to how his rehab has been going. I'll be curious to see, and maybe we might not get news because of, the way things are going with the lockout. But, is he going to be ready for spring training? I don't think so. And then it's like, how much time does he miss? And does that affect his value if he doesn't play till May or June? Who knows? But what we have so far is Bat Down, his Topps Bat Down paper, air quotes short print, pop 517 on this one is at 2150 on the Bat Down. Refractor stayed flat 1%, X-Fractor minus 5%, Pink Refractor up 20%. That seems a little skewed. The pink almost never sells above the regular, even though the pop count's lower. The pink doesn't usually have the same demand. That being said, they are usually pretty close in price. Early in the off season, or late in the summer, you could have got these for the 325, 350. They've come up a little. They came up prior to my 60-day chart starting. But once again, he was a weird one because his off season basically started once he tore the ACL. But in general, over the last 60, once again, we see his stuff has basically remained flat. I'm not going to knock a 10% swing on a bat down one way or the other. It's not like it's crashing. It's not like it's soared way up either. So his stuff is basically maintained essentially. It looks like it went down, like the bat down's kind of the main one. It went down slightly, and then it looks like it's popped back up over the last couple weeks. And I have noticed his stuff, his name's getting tossed around a lot more. Like if you're in Discords or Facebook groups, you're seeing more and more like, hey, looking for any Acuna stuff or whatever. He's one of the names that you typically see the most. Moving along, Tatis did not have the offseason surgery. Not sure how I feel about that one. His stuff has not held up quite as well. I don't know if it's from the surgery or just general injury concerns in general or what the deal is. His base refractor has held at around 500. I've seen this card sell for slightly under 5, slightly over 5 as it's worked its way throughout the fall and into the winter, but it's basically remained flat. X-Fractor down slightly, 6%. Pink down 20%. That's a pretty big gap between pink and regular refractor there. Prism refractor down 14% to 645. This is another one. This bounces all around. I've seen these regularly sell for around 700. Then it'll dip down to 650. It'll go back up to 700. So that one does bounce around a little bit. You can see it's the pink line here, I believe. No, that's the X-Fractor. Prism is orange. So yeah, you can see it was up here at 750, then down here at 600, then back up at 700, then back down to 645. So that one has kind of bounced around a little bit. And then his Sapphire is down slightly, down 10% on the Sapphire PSA 10. So in general, Tatis's stuff has been trending down a little bit compared to what Acuna, Vlad, and Soto have been doing. His stuff is clearly in the red. Everyone else's has been flat to slightly up. So maybe that's a potential buying opportunity on Tatis. Not sure. Next up, Ohtani. His stuff has gotten hit relatively the hardest post the MVP award, and he just had a lot baked into his pricing. He was the most expensive to begin with, so he has the most to fall before it renormalizes, but you can see a lot of his stuff is down and down decent chunks. And I just went with his Topps Chrome. He has a million different things you could go with. He has his regular Topps Chrome. He has Topps Chrome Update. People like the batting pose in that one. He has his first Bowman, which I did not include. Or it's not because it's not a first Bowman, but he has a Bowman Chrome stuff as well. I just went with regular Topps Chrome Refractor. I will tell you in general what you're looking at on Ohtani. It is down over the last 60 days. His high-end autos are down. His more short print numbered stuff in Topps Chrome is down. All of it is down some percentage. All of it was pretty much in the red. I didn't see much Ohtani going up over the last 60. So his regular refractor is down to 512. The X-Fractor is down to 1,000. That's a 25% drop. 13% drop on the regular refractor. Pink refractor is down 4% and actually selling higher than the regular refractor, which once again, you don't usually see that very often. And then his Prism refractor is down 15% to 715. So much like the Tatis, Ohtani stuff is taking a little bit more of a beating. So, but he had a higher peak to fall from. So I'm guessing that's kind of what it is. We'll see where the bottom is on him or if he keeps trending down. I am curious. So that's the last 60. Let me just pull up on the fly here and just hit last 30. Last 30 is not really any better. X-Fractor down 36%. Pink up 21%. I'm guessing there was just one really high pink sale that kind of skewed that. Prism down 15. Yeah, so even the last 30 days, it looks like it's still trending downwards. So it's not like it was the first 30 days and then the second 30 days it took a bigger beating. Not the case. Moving along, let's move into some more under the radar guys, because if history repeats itself, the guys that we know, they're going to get their prices most likely inflated, or even if they hold steady, they're going to be high. The season's going to start. They're not going to meet expectations, or some of them aren't going to meet expectations. They're going to fall. To me, the sweet spot, and this gets tricky because you got to pick the right guy, is who's the breakout candidate. So last year it was Ohtani and Vlad. Vlad came into the season. His stuff was very affordable, very reasonably priced, and then he just killed the baseball and his stuff exploded. Same thing with Ohtani, except he was doing it pitching and hitting. So the three most intriguing names of the young guys that have Topps Chrome stuff available, we'll go through them one by one. I've talked about them a ton on the channel. They're not that surprising. But these guys are all extremely reasonably priced. And if you aren't looking to put a ton of money in and you were willing to risk it, any one of these, I think, makes a very low risk buy because their stuff's just not that expensive. And even if this is expensive, you could look at PSA 9s probably and get in even cheaper. So first up is Luis Robert. He had a really nice second half of the season. Obviously, he was injured. And last year at this time, he was hyped to hell. People were pumping him to the moon. And then everyone kind of forgot about him. And his stuff is very reasonably priced. This is his, this is his regular Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10. Has stayed flat. It's $130. That seems very reasonable to me. Little high pop count on 2020. There's 1,600 of these things, even in a refractor. X-Fractor down slightly, 10%, 350. Pink down 30% at $100. And then last but not least, the Prism Refractor basically holding steady at 200. And once again, this is usually what you see. Usually the Prism will be slightly above the regular refractor. To me, if you wanted a low risk investment, these for like 135, go for a PSA. I don't know what a PSA 9 goes for, but a PSA 9 at like a third of that price. I mean, if you just wanted to kind of dabble in the baseball market, do your research, but these are the type of guys that at least have more room to go up and they don't have as far to fall. So you're not putting as much money into it as opposed to a Tatis, who if he gets hurt, you're going to get murdered on it. At least if, Luis gets hurt, you're not losing him as much, but he has a higher upside. If he goes off, his stuff could see a Vlad-like rise. Now, that's a little unfair comparison. Vlad was a Triple Crown threat last year. I don't see that coming from Lubob, but I could see him getting trendy very easily. But I just like the price points here. They're just very low-risk price points on these guys. So Lubob is number 1. Bo Bichette is number 2. His stuff also very reasonably priced. Are seeing slight upticks on on Bo Bichette stuff. Base Refractor up slightly, 5%, $120. Once again, very reasonable. X-Fractor 275 up 5%. Pink down 16% to $87. This is usually around 100. Once again, might just be a random one-off low sale. And then the Prism Refractor at 131. If you can get this for this price compared to the regular refractor, that seems like a very good deal. Up slightly, 8%. Once again, the pop count on that is 400 compared to 1,400. And the Prism usually outsells the base refractor quite a bit more than that from what I've seen and looking at other stuff. But once again, low risk here. Not that expensive. And once again, you can look at PSA 9s if the PSA 10s out of your price range. I know everyone plays in different markets. Or if you wanted to go up another level, you could look at like a Sapphire or Autos or whatever. You can get into Autos on these guys really cheap. Like their Topps Chrome Rookie Autos. You can get in, I shouldn't say really cheap. Once again, price will vary depending on the individual person buying on what their budget is. But compared to a lot of things, you can get a nice auto of these guys for a decent price compared to, for the same price as a Tatis Prism Refractor, you could probably get a nice Lubob Topps Chrome base auto for around the same price, maybe even less. So just depends. Once again, risk tolerance, variance, all that jazz. But Bo Bichette, very intriguing name. Once again, I really like what the Blue Jays are doing up there. They have a really good offense, and Bo Bichette had a really good season last year that just a lot of people didn't notice. Speaking of really good seasons that no one noticed, well, a lot of people noticed. The card market didn't notice because his prices didn't go up that high. Devers. He's another one. His stuff just is extremely reasonably priced. He had an absolutely fantastic year last year. This is his Topps Chrome base refractor. Has stayed flat. $130, 2%, just has not moved. X-Fractor, $320, has not moved. Pink Refractor, down slightly, and then Prism Refractor, down slightly at $150 and $153 respectively. Once again, the Prism Refractors seem to be the best deal going, in my opinion, for where these prices are at. I don't know if it's just because people forget about them and just focus on the base level refractors or the other stuff. Don't know. But that seems extremely reasonably priced. So that's it. That's all I have for you guys and girls today. The two big names that I left off because they don't have official cards yet, but they would 100% be worth paying attention to are Wander Franco and Bobby Witt. They're going to be the guys that get tons of buzz, Franco especially, and Bobby Witt is going to be last year's Wander Franco. He's going to start in the minors. He's going to get called up, and then his stuff's probably going to go up. We'll see what happens with that. Witt, depending on what his prices do, seems like the easiest thing in the world. You know, I say that now, but we all obviously don't know what's going to happen with baseball and the card market. But if the traditional things hold, you know, Witt stuff's going to keep climbing up. He's going to get sent down to the minors. If he has a hot spring training, look out. His stuff will spike. He'll get called up. His stuff will spike way up again, just depending on what he does. And you could almost just sell it on the news of the call up, or if he has a hot spring training. Once again, you're risking it a little bit on the hot spring training, but worst case, you would get the bounce on the call up, and then you could cash out, most likely at a profit, but just depends on how long they wait to call him up. So Witt and Franco are the two ultra young, hyped guys that are going to be getting lots of buzz into spring training. Once again, assuming we have spring training. I'm going to be very curious to see what this stuff looks like 30 days from now, and also depending on how the lockout news goes, stuff like that. So that's all I have for you guys and girls. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.